everyone, I'm Alpha Siti Sabila. Today, I would like to present my intercultural English language teaching material entitled Wedding Etiquette and Marriage Tradition Across Culture, Exploring Real Malay Wedding Custom, British Wedding Tradition, and Global Wedding Trends. This presentation focuses on intercultural communicative competence or ICC by examining how wedding tradition reflect cultural values, beliefs, attitudes, and practices in different societies. Though this topic, we can learn how cultural influences communication and how intercultural understanding can support English language learning. Before we begin, let us look at the learning objective. After this lesson, students are expected to identify cultural facts, values, beliefs, attitudes, and practice related to wedding traditions. Students will also be able to compare wedding tradition across cultures, develop intercultural awareness, and apply intercultural communicative competence in English language learning. These objectives are important because language and culture are closely connected. Understanding culture helps learners communicate more effectively with people from different backgrounds. First, what are wedding traditions? Wedding traditions are customs and ceremonies that celebrate marriage. Every culture has its own way of marking this important life event. Wedding traditions are not only about ceremonies, they also reflect cultural values, beliefs, identities, and social relationships. Studying wedding tradition is important because it helps us understand how people from different cultures express commitment, respect, family relationship, and social values. From an ICC perspective, learning about cultural tradition encourages intercultural understanding and helps learners become more open-minded and respectful of cultural diversity. Now, let us move to the local culture, which is Real Malay wedding customs. Real Malay wedding traditions are strongly influenced by Islamic teaching, Malay cultural heritage, family values, and community participation. These traditions have been passed down from generation to generation and remain an important part of Malay cultural identity. In Malay society, marriage is considered not only a union between two individuals but also a relationship between two families and communities. Therefore, wedding ceremonies often involve family members, relatives, and local communities working together to support the celebrations. This slide presents the cultural facts, values, and beliefs found in real Malay wedding traditions. One important fact is that traditional Malay wedding ceremonies consist of several stages, each with its own cultural meaning. The values reflect in this tradition include respect for elders, family unity, cooperation, and mutual support. In terms of beliefs, marriage is viewed as a sacred commitment that should be based on responsibility, respect, and religious principles. Family approval is also highly valued because marriage is considered a union of families rather than only a personal decision. This value demonstrates how culture shapes people's understanding of relationship and social responsibilities. Next, let us look at the attitudes and practice found in real Malay wedding customs. Several important attitudes are reflected in these traditions, including respectfulness, humility, and responsibility. These attitudes are demonstrated through a number of tradition practices. The first is merisik. which is the process of gathering information about a potential partners. The second is meminang, or the formal proposal between families. Another important ceremony is tepung tawar, which symbolizes blessings and prayers for the couple. The wedding process also includes akad nikah, which is the Islamic marriage contract, and bersanding, where the bride and groom are present as a marriage couple. This practice shows how cultural values are expressed through social action and ceremonies. One unique feature of Malay wedding tradition is the use of pantun. Pantun is a traditional form of poetry that plays an important role in communication. During wedding ceremonies, pantun is often used to give advice, express respect, and maintain politeness. The pantun shown on the slate emphasizes that marriage is not only the union of two individuals, but also the coming together of two families. From an ICC perspective, pantun demonstrates how language reflects cultural identity and values. It teaches us that communication is not only about conveying information, but also about preserving culture and strengthening social relationships. Now, let us move to the target culture, which is British wedding traditions. British weddings are influenced by both historical traditions and modern social values. Many British weddings are associated with Christian traditions, although modern weddings can also be civil ceremonies. Unlike Malay weddings, British wedding tradition places greater emphasis on personal choice and individual preference. However, family support remains an important aspect of the celebrations. This slide presents the fact, values, beliefs, and attitudes found in British wedding traditions. One common fact is that marriage proposals are an important part of this process. British wedding traditions reflect values such as commitment, equality, and individual choice. Marriage is often viewed as a lifelong partnership built on mutual respect and love. The attitudes reflect in British culture includes independence and respect for personal decisions. This characteristic demonstrates how cultural perspective can influence people's understanding of marriage and relationships. There are several common practices in British wedding. These include marriage proposals, engagement ceremonies, wedding vows, ring exchange, and wedding receptions. Wedding etiquette is also very important. Guests are expected to follow dress codes, behave politely, and respect the formal nature of the event. Wedding speeches are another important tradition where family members and friends share stories and good wishes for the couple. Besides local and target culture, we also need to consider global culture. Globalization has influenced wedding tradition around the world. Today, people are increasingly exposed to different cultural practices through travel, media, and technology. As a result, new trends have emerged such as destination weddings, multicultural marriage, luxury weddings, and sustainable weddings. These trends show two cultures can influence each other while still maintaining their unique identities. Technology has also changed the way weddings are celebrated. Today, many couples ask digital invitation, wedding website, social media platform, and live stream service. These digital tools allow friends and family from different countries to participate in wedding celebrations. This is closely related to digital citizenship because people must communicate responsible and respectful in online environments. From an ICC perspective, technology creates opportunities for intercultural interaction on a global scale. This table compares real Malay wedding customs, British wedding traditions, and global wedding trends. Although these cultures have different values, beliefs, and practice, they all share a common purpose, celebrating marriage and strengthening relationship. Real Malay culture emphasizes family unity and religious values. British culture highlights commitment, equality, and individual choice. Meanwhile, global culture reflects diversity, flexibility, and cultural exchange. These comparisons help us understand both cultural differences and share human experience. Now, let us examine the similarities and differences. The similarities are that all wedding traditions celebrate marriage, unite families, and express commitment. However, there are also significant differences. For example, Malay weddings involve traditional ceremonies such as tepuk, tepung tawar, and pantun. British wedding focus on wedding vows and formal etiquette. Global wedding trends often incorporate technology and multicultural influences. Understanding these differences is important because it helps us appreciate cultural diversity rather than judge it. This slide connects our discussion to intercultural communicative competence. The first dimension is knowledge, which refers to understanding cultural traditions and practice. The second dimension is attitudes, which involves respecting cultural diversity. The third dimension is skills, such as comparing cultures and interpreting cultural meanings. The final dimension is critical cultural awareness, which encourages us to reflect on cultural similarities and differences. By studying wedding traditions, students can develop all four dimensions of ICC. The first classroom activity is a role play. In this activity, one student acts as a Malay family members, another as a British wedding guest, and another as an international visitors. They discuss wedding traditions and cultural etiquette. This activity helps students practice speaking skills while developing intercultural communication abilities. Students also learn how to communicate appropriately with people from different cultural backgrounds. The second activity is a debate. Students discuss the statement, traditional wedding customs should be preserved in the modern global era. One group agrees while the other group disagrees. This activity develops speaking skills, critical thinking, and argumentation abilities. It also encourages students to consider multiple cultural perspectives before forming opinions. The third activity is cultural reflections. Students answer questions about the wedding traditions they have learned. For example, which tradition do you find most interesting? What values can be learned from real Malay weddings? Or what values can be learned from British weddings? And then how does globalizations influence wedding traditions? This activity promotes self-reflections and intercultural awareness. To support further learning, several digital resources are provided. The first video presents authentic real Malay wedding customs, and the second video from the British Council introduced British wedding traditions. Students can also explore the British Council Learning English website and National Geographic Education website. The research helped students continue learning about culture, communication, and English language development. Finally, these references are used to support the information present in this project. They include academic sources on intercultural communicative competence, Malay culture, and English language teaching. In conclusions, wedding tradition provide valuable insight into cultural values, beliefs, attitudes, and practice. By comparing real Malay culture, British culture, and global wedding trends, we can develop greater intercultural understanding and become more effective communicators in a multicultural world. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation has helped you better understand the importance of cultural in communication and English language teaching. Thank you and bye bye everyone.